right, and here we go. We are rolling. It is time for another episode of Cash's Top 5, and we've got an interesting episode today. I say that because, usually the guests I have on the show are either, an old work friend or somebody that I know in a common industry. And I have Nina Bradley joining me today. How you doing, Nina?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's going to be fun. You're joining the show, and we've never really talked before. Like we're kind of a mutual admiration society on social media through Instagram and through TikTok was how we found each other. And now you're on the show, and we're going to be ranking a pretty interesting topic. I'm curious to hear yours from your perspective. We're ranking our top 5 worst dating red flags of all time.
Yes, this should be very interesting.
Because it is, there are similarities, but there are differences from, men and women in the dating realm, whether you're a man with a woman or a man with another man or a woman with another woman, depending on what the situation is, you can still kind of boil it down to red flags that you need to watch out for when you're dating. So some of these will be a little more specific. Some of these might be a little more universal. But I am genuinely curious to hear because you've been active, we both are on the dating apps, the Bumbles and the Hinges of the world, and trying to find somebody out there, you really meet some characters it's it's interesting. So we're talking dating red flags. Nina, what do you got at number 5?
Oh gosh. So wait, we're doing this in order from 5 to 1. So should this be like my least red flag? And then
we're working our way up to the worst one. Yeah.
Oh God. Okay. I didn't realize. Because these are all bad. These are all bad. I guess for 5, I would say if he speaks badly about his ex, because I personally feel like regardless of how the relationship ended, if you truly loved and cared about someone, you wouldn't speak ill on their name.
Now, what if so not necessarily talking about them too much, but you're talking like specifically
disrespectfully
and bad-mouthing them too much?
Yes, because even if that person cheated, even if they did something really terrible, you can still tell me what happened that caused that relationship not to work without putting that person in a negative light. You can still maturely and respectfully tell me what happened without saying, oh, she was crazy, or oh, she was a whore, and I feel like a lot of guys do that, and that's an immediate turn off for me. And I'm just like, Jimmy Neutron, when I hear that, I'm just like, got a blast. Literally, when a guy talks badly about his ex, I'm just like, I can't explain it. That Jimmy Neutron pops in my head, and I'm just like, dang, I just want to like blast off right now. Like, I just want to get out of here. Because I think about it the same way I think about a friend. Like, if I have a friend who's always telling me their friend's business, I don't want to tell them my business because they're going to do the same thing, So I kind of look at dating the same way. Like, oh, okay, well, if things with me and him don't work out, am I just going to be another crazy ex? Does he take responsibility for what happened in a relationship that he did wrong? It says a lot about someone when they speak badly about their ex, and that's just a huge turnoff for me. So I would say that'd be my number 5.
Okay, that's a really strong one. I feel like that's kind of a universal one. Like, anytime you are bad mouthing an ex, or just kind of it might, maybe you can boil it down to just that negative energy. Like, I feel like especially if you're dating, like starting out dating somebody early on, you try to be as positive as possible, just to show that you're a good person. But my number 5 for you, I think, is probably more of a male problem with the female population. I don't like to paint with a broad stroke here, but this may be an overgeneralization. But if you're constantly late and it's like part of your personality, like you like giggle it off, like, oh, me, I'm going to be 45 minutes late. I'm like, ha ha ha, that's super disrespectful. And you clearly don't value my time at all. Like, clearly your time is the most valuable. That's true for everybody. but to not be considerate at all, that you're always late to everything, it's for me personally, immediate red flag. And that's not just necessarily dating or relationships either. Like, I don't want to necessarily be friends with somebody that is that inconsiderate of other people in their life.
Mhm. No, I totally get that. I am that person that is 3 hours early to the airport because I'm afraid to, because just like flights can leave late, they can leave early too. People don't know that. They don't know
Yeah.
that. So I don't know. I don't believe in being late to things. I'm always like, it's so funny because Carly, she she was having family pictures done and the photographer got COVID last minute. So she reached out to me and was like, can you please take these family pictures of me and my cousins? We need to get this done we have to do this in time because it was a present for her parents for Christmas. So the only day everyone had available was that day. And I was like, okay, shoot, like, yeah, I'll come. So I went to take the pictures of her and her cousins and everything. And oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. It's one
Being
of
on
those days.
time.
Being on time. And she yelled at all of her cousins and she said, listen, Nina's always on time. You guys better be there. Like
She
she told
knew.
me that she said it like 4, 5, 6 different times to them because all of her cousins were like college age and like high school age, like 17, 18, 19. So she's like, you guys better be on time. And it's just funny that I'm known for being punctual. I love that. And I really hate when people are late as well because I literally lied to my friends when I'm on my way to pick them up. I'm 10 minutes away. I literally will say here, and I'll get there, and they're still not ready. And I'm like, bro, I told you 10 minutes ago before I even got off at the exit, I was here, and you're still not ready. Like I lied to you, and you're still not ready. I don't understand. So I get you on that. It's very inconsiderate. That's a pet peeve for me as well because and then like people who are rushing on the highway, like just leave on time. Just prioritize your time.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
All right. We've got speaking ill of exes at number 5. What do we have at number 4?
Oh boy. Ooh, number 4. Okay. I feel like this should be higher because this is important for me, but this just popped into my head, so I'm gonna say it. I am a very, very generous person. So somebody that's cheap is a huge turnoff for me. Like if I go on a date and he is like cheaping out on the tip, oh my gosh, no, like that is like because I watch that shit and I just I don't know. I'm very generous. That's my love language. I love giving. So especially in terms of like the food industry and like in terms of tips, because I've never personally been a server, but I have had a lot of friends that have been servers. I've been a hostess before when I was in college, and those servers, like if they didn't get tips, some of them didn't have money to get diapers for their kids, gas to make it home, like
Right.
electricity, like these servers are not making a lot of money. They're making $5, $6, $7. I don't even know if that's how much they're making. And if you cannot tip a decent amount, regardless of the service, because I mean, even if I get crappy service, I still tip. Even if they're terrible, I still tip. My heart isn't set up to do somebody like that. And
Right.
I can't be with somebody that's stingy because we're just gonna clash. I can't be a giving person, and you can't always have your hand around your wallet real tight when I'm trying to help out the next person. Like if we're blessed and privileged enough to give, and we're in a position to do that, then we're gonna do that. So I need somebody that matches that energy when in terms of generosity. So that is a huge turnoff for me. So that's my number 4.
When you go out with a guy, especially if it's a first date, do you usually expect him to pay for the dinner?
Well, I don't do dinner dates.
I don't either. I definitely not like my rule is the first 3 dates, no dinner, no food. So I'm glad you said that.
I'm anti dinner dates. I guess that could honestly be another red flag, but I'm not going to skip I'm not going to skip you. I'm going to let you go. And then that's going to be my next one is, I guess, guys not being creative. So we'll wait for that one for me. That's my 3.
Okay. My number 4 for you is kind of a specific one because it doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, you're like, oh my God. But when I go out with somebody, especially if it's a first date or maybe the first couple, they overshare way too quickly. Like they tell me way too much personal stuff right out of the gate. Now I'm cool with, getting to know you and kind of feeling the situation out. But if you're talking about like your family's personal history and some really graphic personal stuff, like, no, you gotta, work your way towards certain topics. Don't just tell me everything on the first date.
I personally feel like it depends because I have been on first dates where I feel like the guy was very closed off and didn't really want to open up. And then I've been on first dates where the guy told me his whole life story, but I wasn't weirded out because of the way he did it and the way the conversation evolved. So I feel like it just depends on the person and the situation because there have definitely been some times where I have had people come up to me and tell me their life story and I was weirded out, but I feel like it's all about the delivery and it all depends on how the conversation evolves and came about because if this person sits down and is just like, oh my gosh, I wasn't loved as a child and like that's a lot to unload on a first
Yeah.
date, save that for later.
If the vibe is there, if the vibe is there, then that's one thing. But if you're just automatically talking about all this stuff, I'm like, whoa, we just sat down. What are you talking about? Like, that could be a bit much. So yeah, it all depends on the vibe. It's one of those things like, yeah, these are red flags, but if it's the right person, you can kind of, you can ignore for the greater good. So we already got kind of a little glimpse into your number 3, but what do you have officially for your third red flag in dating?
Yeah, I would say so I don't drink alcohol. It's just a personal preference, personal choice. I never was a party girl. When I tell people I don't drink, they look at me like I have 7 heads, and it's like, yeah, and I get it. I get that I'm rare, but like, then they always want to know why, and it's like, so I'm planning on doing a video about it. But I mean, I can dive into a little bit here. But alcohol does not taste good. It's overpriced liquid. Why would I want to be hungover the next day? Why would I want to not have control over my body's actions and words? Like, I just don't understand the concept. I just don't see any positives to it. So I never needed to dive into alcohol to realize I didn't want anything to do with it. Just like I don't need to do heroin to realize I don't want to do heroin, It's like,
Sure.
that's how I look at alcohol. I look at what alcohol does to people, DUIs, and I just don't see many benefits to alcohol. And I know people are like, oh, well, wine is healthy and blah. Okay, well, so is water. So is water.
Yeah. So is the red flag like guys that booze way too much, or do you not like any drinkers at all?
No, I don't like when guys ask me out for a drink because like
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I always have on my profile that I don't drink. I always make sure that I put that up, like make a point of putting that on my profile because of the fact that I feel like that is every guy's go-to is, oh, let me take a girl out to get a couple drinks. And girls who drink probably love that because drinks are expensive.
Right.
Girls who drink alcohol probably love going out for a drink because it's like, oh, I'm about to get drunk on someone else's dime. Like they probably love it. Me, I'm fun, and I am a 7-year-old in a 26-year-old body. I want to go to a trampoline park and bounce around. I want to have fun. I don't want to I don't want to go out for some drinks. I don't want to go out for dinner. Like, let's go skiing. Let's go ice skating. Like, I mean, let's go to an arcade so I can kick your butt in every game there. Like, let's go to Top Golf. Like, men don't think about fun dates. And then the thing is even if we go to this date and you suck or I suck and we hate each other, at least we have fun.
Yeah.
At least we still have fun.
And you're not hungover the next day.
Exactly. Or in this man's bed. Like,
Also
like,
true.
How girls go on dates, get drunk, and end up in a man's bed. And I don't understand that. When I hear these stories, but the thing is another thing, when you go out for a drink. So I have a friend who she has a friend who went on a date at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday, like literally 10 o'clock on a Tuesday during her lunch break. And they met for like drinks. They met out for drinks or whatever. It was like 10 or 11. It was like for brunch. And she went to the bathroom and this dude put something in her mimosa. And luckily, the waitress saw it. And the waitress went to the bathroom and she said, hey, that dude put something in your drink. So then they called the police, and then that girl waited in the bathroom until the police came. But this is what I'm saying. Like, and people wonder why women are afraid to leave the house. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And so with the creativity of the date, I just think it bothers me when a guy asks me out for a drink because of the fact that I do make a point to say that I don't drink, and then I don't want to go out to dinner. I'm not trying to have an interview. I'm not trying to be interrupted by by our server asking us if everything is okay. I'm not trying to eat in between talking, and then it's just the whole idea of a dinner date. No.
I couldn't agree more. I've always said, the classic cliche of the dinner in a movie. I'm like, places where it's uncomfortable to talk, and if you're in a restaurant that's kind of close quartered and your server's interrupting and, you don't want food in your teeth and maybe you get bad breath with it's not a good vibe. And it is, to your point, the other half of that is it's not very creative. If it's just like, oh, that's just what we do. All right, well, put some thought into it. And it only compounds it. If we're talking dating profile, like a Hinge app or a Bumble app, like we've talked about, if you explicitly put it out there, hey, this is what I don't do. And they're like, hey, do you want to go do this thing you said you don't do? Like, clearly you didn't read, you just looked at my pictures, which I kind of understand, but really you need to put some more thought into it. No, I get that. That makes sense.
So what is your next one?
My number 3 could be up higher, honestly, but 1 and 2 are pretty bad for me.
Oh boy.
Yeah, my number 3 dating red flag. If your friends don't approve. Now, this isn't quite first or second date because usually you don't meet the friends until you're a little more established as I don't want to say like in a full relationship or a full couple, but maybe you've gone out a few times and then there's a group outing and you bring them along with you and you kind of introduce them around. It's kind of a casual thing, and then afterwards your buddy's like, bro, I don't know if this is I don't know if she's it, man. Like, are you sure? Like, the other thing is too, I'm like the lone wolf. I'm the last single guy in I got a pretty nice friend group, and across the board, they're all married with kids. So not only do I have to get my boys to approve, I have to make sure she gets along with all the wives as well. You can't be bringing somebody in and ruining the ecosystem of the friend group. So you got to be careful. So if you get a little bit of like a side eye after a meeting, maybe it's a red flag that maybe you're physically attracted, but you're ignoring some other signs. You might want to reassess if your friends don't approve.
Yeah. So on that one, I feel like I have feelings in all types of directions. I will say that I personally have friends who have had strong, amazing marriages that have ended in divorce due to outside interference because of friends' opinions when the couple was happy. But the friends, let's say, okay, so I have a friend who he was very happily married, and in his culture, he's Arabic. So unless you are like, you have a lot of money, you're looked at as not worthy to marry someone's daughter. So he was married to this woman, and her friends kept saying, why don't you marry an Arabic man that has his life together, because of the culture. And then it just got to her. And over time, she just started acting different. She started pulling away, and then they ended up getting divorced. And he was heartbroken. So I feel like I have mixed feelings about how strongly your friends and family should influence. Obviously, their opinions matter. Obviously, you want it to work. You want that harmony all around. But I will say, at the end of the day, it's your life, and you are marrying that person. You're having kids with that person, and your friends and family might not understand that person like you do. And if things are rocky, just because they're rocky temporarily doesn't mean that they're always going to be. And if you feel like the person is worth it, then try to sit down and have those conversations to figure out how you can make it work. Because I feel like if two people really love each other, they want to make it work, they'll make it work. That's just my mindset, And if this person maybe gave your friends the wrong impression, if your friends really care about you and want you to be happy, they will give her another chance. And let's say there's still friction, then you reassess down the line. But I just feel like people nowadays do care a bit too much about what their friends and family think. And I personally know a lot of people who have gotten married or in relationships with people that they absolutely despise because their family and friends approved. And it's just sad. And
Yeah, that's not okay. If you, because again, being the last single one, I'm constantly being forced into, hey, you should meet this chick, and hey, you should go out with her, and hey, my friend thinks you're cute. Like, I had to put kind of like a, an APB out. I had to put it all out there for like, hey, stop trying to set me up. No more blind dates. Like, I'm not, I'm not interested in dating in that capacity. Like, I'll figure my own stuff out. Thanks.
yeah, no, I get that. But
All right. Don't speak ill of the ex. Don't be cheap. Be creative, and don't, pay attention to a dating profile when you're talking to somebody. Some really good red flags so far that I definitely, I get it, being from, my camp, the dudes. Nina, what do you got at number 2?
I would say smoking cigarettes. That's a huge thing for
Oh,
me.
you wouldn't even get
Huge.
into a first date. No way. Ugh.
I really wish that people would disclose that on their profiles more. Uh,
Yeah.
I went on a date with a guy, and I mean, really attractive, successful man. And then I get into his car, and what kills me is that this man's car was brand new. Like, it was a brand new. What was it? Not a Range Rover. The Land Rover. And I get in it, and it smelled like cigarettes. And I'm like, how long have you had this car? He was like 6 months. See, no, no. 6 months and your car smells like an ashtray. No, I'm about to have my house, my clothes, me, my mouth. Gross. I just can't do it. And then my mom, she also died from cigarettes. So that already,
Yeah.
she started smoking when she was 9. When my grandma told me that, I was like, Graham, she should have been playing with Raggedy Ann and blowing bubbles, and she was smoking cigarettes. She was smoking cigarettes. I was like, girl, who did mom think that she was? My grandma was like grown.
Yeah. I mean, different generation, I guess.
She was smoking at 9. Like, she should have been
That's early.
playing. And then, yeah, so she died when she was 48. So yeah, over 30 years of smoking cigarettes, but her lungs were like, got a blast.
Man.
um, and so it's just, I can't do that. I can't be with somebody that smokes cigarettes, because that basically is them saying, I don't care about my body. I don't care about my future kids. I don't care about my future wife. That's basically what I look at a smoker is saying. And me growing up without parents, because my father also passed away when I was 13. So I've been orphaned since I was 13. But growing up without parents, it made me realize I'm gonna walk down the aisle without my mom and dad. Like, I don't have anyone to walk me down the aisle. I'm gonna have kids. My kids are not gonna have grandparents. My parents never got to see me graduate high school, graduate college, get my first car, get my license. They're not gonna meet the man I'm gonna marry. Like, I can't put my kids through what I went through. So I have to
Right.
really, really, really be picky and choosy on the man that I marry. And that's why, like, I have all these people that's messaging me, all these people that want to date me, but I think it's like people, they like the idea of Nina, but they don't really want what comes with Nina. They see this pretty girl who's happy and positive, and they're like, oh, I want to be around her. But then when they see that I've been broken and damaged, and they see that you have to be up here to be in my life, people don't want to do what it takes to be up here. They want to come in with the bare minimum. And when they realize that I'm not going to allow you in my life doing the bare minimum, they're like, okay, she's a bit high maintenance. And that's fine. If you want to think I'm high maintenance, then you're not the person for me in my life, because I'm not high maintenance. I just have high expectations, because I've been through a lot. I've been hurt, and I am not about to let people in my life, and I'm not going to give them the opportunity to do that. I've done enough healing. I've done enough growing, where if you aren't here for my happiness, if you aren't here to truly support me and help me grow in life, then there's not a place for you in my life. That's just kind of how I look at things now.
Absolutely. I couldn't say it better myself. I mean, you shouldn't have to phrase it that way. Like, for you to say the phrase, like, I'm going to be picky and choosy with who I marry. Like, yes, you should. You should absolutely. Not only should you be very selective, because some people aren't, and I don't get it. Like, you're going to make this huge life altering decision and you're not 100% sure. Like, That's
Oh, they
ridiculous.
settle. They
Or
settle.
they settle, you know, they settle, they sacrifice their own values or their own expectations just for the thought of, you know, well, it's better than being alone. Well, no, it's not. It's worse.
Yes,
Um,
it's worse.
but you should always be yourself. You know, like a friend of mine, we did stand up together, Chris Bowers. You know, he always said, you know, if you are like a Star Trek nerd, if like you're a Trekkie guy, like in the first time you bring a girl home or whatever, like show her the closet full of Star Trek costumes. Like, don't hide who you are. Like, be who you are. That's how you find the one who's right for you. If you have to pretend to be something or whatever, like if I showed up and I'm in a nice suit with a Land Rover and all this stuff, like, hey, guess what? That's not who I am. So I'm putting on some sort of act to try to get with somebody. Like, that's not cool either. Be yourself, and who you attract and who, you know, who you're attracted to and who is attracted to you, that will settle itself out. You know, it'll figure itself out as long as you stay true to you and never compromise your standards for anyone.
No, I thank you. I appreciate that. So now I need to know what your next one is.
My number two is actually very similar to your number five.
Okay.
It's a little different though, so maybe that's why I ranked it a little higher. My number two is talking too much about an ex, especially on the first couple of dates. Now, speaking ill for sure, but I also think it's, if you keep bringing up, like if you and I were to go out on a date and you're like, and yeah, and that reminds, like this other time with Ryan, and you tell me about Ryan, I'm like, look, Ryan's your ex. Stop talking about, like, quit bringing Ryan up. I'm here. This is our time now. So it either tells me that you're not over your ex, or you still wish you were together, or you got to figure something out. Or maybe it's too soon for you to be dating, and that's fine too. But if you're constantly bringing up, especially if it's like one particular one, you're like, all right, you're still hung up. Like we can be done. Like we can be friends, but clearly you need to work some issues out.
You're so hung up. No, I get that. I mean, there was definitely, I went on a date one time. Geez, I don't remember what city I was. I think I was in Boston, and there's this guy. It was so funny because he was from Ohio, and we actually had matched before, and we just happened to be, I happened to be in Boston, and then I was just like, oh, so we went on a date, and it was so weird because he brought up something about his ex, and I asked him something about how it ended, and he got real defensive, and I could just tell in that moment that you could just tell when people aren't
Yeah.
over, and I could just tell he was triggered. So yeah, that's definitely. I think that's also a big annoying thing in dating is when people don't date when they're ready. They just date because they're bored. They want attention. They're not emotionally available, and it's it's annoying. And I don't like when people ghost. It's like, we're adults. You can explain, because I've had to have that uncomfortable conversation with some guys and tell them like,
Yeah.
I appreciate hanging out with you, but I just don't think that we're compatible for X, Y, and Z. Like, I think that a person deserves to know why things aren't going to work out. It's because I feel like a lot of people have insecurities, especially men. Because a lot of my guy friends, they'll call me after a date or after things don't work out with a girl, and they'll be upset, and they'll be like, why? And they'll be great guys. Like, I have a lot of great guys as friends, and girls just ghost, and I just don't understand why you can't be a decent human being and just say, hey, this isn't gonna work out. Like the one dude, I told him, I was like, you smoke. I just like, I told him, because there were other red flags, and I literally gave him a long message, and I was like, I'm sorry, like, you're a great guy, you're just not my guy. You can have that uncomfortable conversation without being disrespectful. I just like people, they just want to avoid it, but I feel like you grow as a person when you go towards uncomfortable things. When you avoid them, you're a punk. You're a punk. You are a punk. Like,
Yeah.
think about, if you're in the military, are you going to run towards the combat? Or you gonna run away from it where everybody else is getting shot at? You got to think about that.
It says a lot about you as a person, and you're
Yeah.
right. It's more disrespectful to lead somebody on, or to leave them hanging, not knowing what's going on. That's so much more disrespectful than being like, look, I need to be honest with you. This is just not it. And that's happened with me a couple of times. Luckily, the girl was like, look, you're a nice guy. This just sorry. And I felt so much better. Like I was able to have closure with it as opposed to like keeping me on the line, like, you know, leaving and then coming back into my life, leaving, then coming back into my life. And it's like, this is way worse than if you would just be straight up with me and be like, look, it's not going to happen. Sorry, you know, and calling it a day.
Yeah. Because like I don't ever want somebody to be insecure and think what's wrong with me because I ghosted them. Because I don't want, if I don't want someone to do that to me, then I shouldn't do that to someone else. So it's truly
Yeah.
like it's a very kindergarten, you know, thing that we learn.
It's the
You know,
golden rule.
treat people the way you want to be treated. Like we learned this when
Yeah.
we're 5 years old. Like, come on, guys. So I just try not to ghost people. I mean, if you creep me out and you're weird, I'm sorry, I'm gonna ghost you. But for the most part, I do try not to ghost people. But I have been on some dates where I'm just like, I have like that the guy who smoked. Like I told you, there were so many other red flags. But so I think this was a sign from God. Like I have so many guardian angels, like my parents. Like I've lost two brothers. Like I have a lot of angels watching over me. So I'm very spiritual because how can I not be when I have so many people that have passed away throughout my life? Like there's no way that they're not protecting me. So I was in the car
Right.
with this man and we're at a red light and the car in front of me, their license plate, it was a vanity plate. And out of all the words that this license plate could have said, it said the word escape. I was in this man's car, the one that with the Land Rover. I was sitting in this man's car that smelled like cigarettes at this red light. I was frozen. I felt like that one meme of that girl Sky Jackson when she was like this sitting on the couch. That's how I felt because I was just like, I need to get the hell out of this car. Like, I was just like, if this is not a sign, I don't know what is. I just wanted that date to end. I wanted that date to end. So yeah, I mean, God, that's crazy.
That's really funny. Yeah. Clearly they were sending you a sign.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, definitely.
So we've reached the top. Number
Boy.
one, we had don't speak ill of the ex, don't be cheap, be creative, don't smoke, you know, don't smoke the cigarettes. It's a pretty bad life decision.
Don't smoke the cigarettes.
Number one, what's your biggest red flag when dating?
Okay. I really am like embarrassed to admit this, but once I explain my reasoning, it'll make a lot of sense. So I guess a big red flag is a man's occupation. And I don't want you guys to think, oh, she's a gold digger, because I'm not thinking about it in that aspect. Trust me, I got my own. But I'm thinking about it in the aspect of, so I don't have a support system. I'm not close with my family. And I was okay with that growing up because you don't pick which family you're born into. I mean, did he have kids? His kids didn't pick him to be his dad, you know? Like, you don't pick your parents and you don't pick the family you're born into. You're just born into your family. And
right.
My family, they are very mean people. They have a lot of mental health issues. I'm not speaking ill on them. I'm just speaking facts. They do have mental health issues that they need to work through. And until they work those out and deal with their toxic traits as humans, I don't want anything to do with them. And I never needed anything from them growing up. I definitely don't need anything from them now as an adult. I mean, half of them don't have cars. Half of them don't even have a license. Like, what are y'all gonna do for me? What are y'all gonna do for me? You know? So I go knowing that I know that my kids are going to be at a disadvantage when it comes of support as well as me. When I'm pregnant, I'm not going to have my mom to call to help me through pregnancy. Like I'm going to have to go through a lot of experiences alone. So I need somebody who, I can't have someone with a dangerous job. If he is a firefighter, if he's in the military, if he is a police officer, if he's a sheriff, like I can't have anyone with a dangerous job. I dated blue collar men before. Like I dated a guy who was like a project manager. He, you know, attractive, successful, but like he would come home and he was miserable. He hated his job. His body was just breaking, and you know, and he was like in his 30s. And I'm like, well, dang. I mean, in your 40s, when we have kids, if you're like this in your 30s, you know, it's a lot of wear and tear on your body. And so I typically am attracted more to white collar men just because of the fact that I know they're going to come home at the end of the day. You know, I don't have to worry about my man not coming home because he got hurt on the job. I can't be a single mom. I don't have parents and I don't have a support system. So your occupation is a big thing, and unfortunately, your job can be. I can disqualify you from, and it's an unfortunate thing. But I personally, with my circumstances, have to heavily think about that, because if I have kids, and I say if because I'm open to not having kids and I'm open to having kids. I guess it just depends on my circumstances. But it needs to be like, this is my thing. My friends, they laugh every time I say this, but they know it's true. If I ever post a picture of me pregnant, y'all just need to know I love the hell out of that man, because if I'm because pregnancy is too dangerous to be out here risking my life for somebody that's not worth it. I'm just saying. And I need someone that's going to be around. So I don't know. I can't put myself through that, because I've already dealt with a lot of death, and I have craved having a support system my whole life. So one thing I look for in a man is that he has a very close relationship with his friends and family, because that way I'm not just gaining a husband, I'm gaining the parents I never had growing up, the siblings, I'm not close with, because I have siblings, but I'm not close with them. So I'm not gaining just a husband, I'm gaining the entire support system and family I prayed for and wanted since I was a little girl. Like, that's what I want. I'm like, if you don't just marry him, you marry everything that comes with him. So I understand what you're saying about you want your friends to approve, because trust me, I want to be so close with my man's parents that they call him. They're like, "Where's our daughter?" Like, I want them to refer to me as their daughter. Like, seriously, like I want them to like call me more than they call their own son. That's the type of relationship that I want. And that's very rare to find, because you have a lot of monster-in-laws out here,
Yeah.
and that are like, "Oh, no girl is good enough for my son," and this and that. And not every mom is like that, but you got sisters like that too. And you have some people that are very like, they have this huge wall up when you're getting to know them, because they're like, "Okay, I really care about my brother or my son." And it's like, okay, you can care about him, but you got to chill out a little bit, because if you have this wall up, then it's just going to create friction. You have to let me in, and I have to let you in. So I guess that's my biggest red flag, is if he's not close with his family and his occupation.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty big, and it goes back to, what we were talking about, regardless of what the reasoning is or what the explanation is, like, it's your truth. So, who cares what people think? It's like, what people think, if that's the case for you, then I get it. Similarly, like, I wouldn't want to be with anybody that didn't have a job, like felt like they didn't have to work, like, thinking that they could just be taken care of. Like, that is a big turnoff for me. Like, I want to be a provider, and I want to be, the kind of the rock, the leader or whatever. But there's a partnership involved too. Like, I wouldn't want somebody that's just going to sit around and kind of be a leech on society. Like, no. Like, let's find something for you to do. Let's get out there and get moving and shaking. So I totally get it.
No, I get that too.
My number one for you, a little recap. I had constantly late was a big red flag for me. Oversharing too quickly, friends and family not approving, or they maybe see something that I don't. Talking too much about your ex. My number one dating red flag, and this is more specific to dating apps. We talked about Bumble and Hinge and Tinder and all these, dating apps trying to meet other people. As much as I love creativity, like you said, a guy needs to put some thought into a date. I love some originality. So any type of female out there with a Bumble app that says she's a down to Mars girl, or that she's fluent in sarcasm, her love language is queso and margs, I probably swiped right on you for your dog, not for you. Things that I see over and over and over, it's like, can you go and buy a personality somewhere? Like, you're such a cookie cutter lemming that you might actually be a cool chick, but because of this
Basic.
this window dressing of basic that you gave me, I just can't have my morning without my Starbies. Like, okay, you might be awesome, you might be the one. Like, those things all might be true, but you're presenting yourself as if you are just one of dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands. So that is always, to me, I like somebody who's a little more forward, a little more, this is what I want, this is what I'm like, take it or leave it. I like somebody who, kind of a self-assured woman, like, this is who I am, this is what I'm about. And maybe it's an original thing, I'm sure on your side of things, looking at all the dude profiles, and that's what kind of started us talking about our red flags, some of the just awful attempts that guys have used to try to get you to go out with them. The guy with the shirtless gym selfie, the guy holding up the fish, the guy that, the typical basic stuff that dudes do as well. It's not just women who are doing it, but whenever I see that, it's just an instant no thank you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I cannot imagine how basic it is on a man's standpoint, because it's basic too. Because like, okay, I guess there's that podcast called Her Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Every guy puts that in his bio. Every guy has the infamous wedding pic. Every guy has a wedding pic, because it's like it's the only time y'all actually get dressed up. I get it, man. I
Right.
get it. Like,
Here's me in a suit. Here's me looking nice for you. Yes.
But it's like, dang, come on. Like, or if there was another red flag, people are gonna laugh when I say this. I do not like guys that work out. I do not like guys that go to the gym, because I'm not about to go to the gym. So you're not about to try to get me to go to the gym, because hell no. I do not wake up with the desire to go lift some weights, to go run on a treadmill. I just don't. Like, when I wake up at 5 a.m, I just want to put on some EDM music and bop around. I do not want to go work out. Like, ew. I'm sorry. So I just, when I see the gym, what is it? The gym tan lotions, the GT, what's GTL?
GTL, yeah.
GTL. When I see those types of guys, I'm like, no. And I don't know. I'm not even like the whole 8-pack. I don't care. Like, I really don't. It's like,
well, on behalf of big dudes everywhere, thank you very much. Clearly, you are the unicorn that we are all looking for. That you don't want a guy that works out, because that's a lot of females out there. Like, you better work out, you better have abs. I'm like, you better keep looking, because this guy.
Well, I don't care if a guy works out. I guess I just don't want someone that is so fitness obsessed, because I went on dates with guys that are like that. And I'm just like, I can tell that he wants me to be like an accessory to his fitness. And like, I just don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And like, yeah. I don't mind it. I don't mind it that bad. I don't mind a little fluff. I feel like, personally, every guy I have dated has gained weight because of me, because of my metabolism. I eat, listen, look at what I eat, candy. Like, I mean, and they try to keep up with me, and they can't, because our metabolisms are set up differently. So then they gain weight, and then they're like, oh, I gotta lose weight or I'm gonna lose you. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm not gonna go anywhere because you, like, I'm not, like, so I just think that people care. See, this is the problem with dating. People look so much for eye candy. Nobody's looking for soul food. And that eye candy isn't what's going to raise, that eye candy ain't gonna raise your kids. That mind is, that IQ is, her personality, her spirit, her soul. That's what's going to raise your kids. Those looks, those are gonna fade. Those are gonna fade regardless, no matter how much Botox she gets, no matter how much she tries to fight it, they're gonna fade eventually. But she's gonna fight it. Trust me, she's gonna fight it. All women do. But at some point, it's gonna fade. So men need to really realize what matters. And yeah, I don't know.
You need a good person. That's what you need.
Yes.
You need somebody that vibes, and they're good on the inside just as much. Nina, thank you so much for taking the time to do this top 5. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully people agree with us. I'm sure there'll be a couple out there that, they're haters and they're like, they think we're being too judgmental, but I don't care. We talked a little bit before. You got some cool stuff, some you can't really talk about yet, which is kind of exciting, but you've you're going to be dabbling in the traveling content game. You're going to be really active on socials, especially TikTok. So where can people find you? Where can they follow you? All that good stuff. Give us those before we wrap up.
Okay, so my Instagram is at Nina Marie B 123. Yes, I made it in high school. Leave me alone. And B is it's spelled like bumblebee, so it's BEE. So Nina Marie B 123. And then my TikTok is at finding Nina underscore. So, you know, like Finding Nemo, the little fish. So
Yeah.
Finding Nina. So what, like you were saying with my travels and stuff. So I kind of, my TikTok is going to be based on my travels. So it's going to be basically literally finding Nina. Where's Nina at today? Where's she at this week? You know, I think it's going to be cool. So I want to share some of my upcoming trips and things I have planned this year. And it's going to be some cool stuff, guys. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll be following you wherever you go. I know you're going to be moving sometime this year, so we're going to see you stateside, hopefully around the world, and all the adventures you go into. We'll be looking forward to keeping up with you. So thank you again for doing this, Nina. We'll talk to you soon. Okay.
No, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.